Okay, so sometimes the audio lags. I don't know if it's going to lag this time, but we'll see. So this is another rebuttal redo I'm doing. It's a 1 INR, and it's from a practice debate I just did at DDI. We were up against the SPSF, and in the 1 INR, I took the ozone DA and theory, and the theory was condo bad. And the judge basically told me to spend more time on impact calculus and kind of on evidence comparison, because I hardly did any in the 1 INR. And also, I only got to like half of condo in the actual speech, so I'm going to try to lessen up my DA arguments and instead focus more on the condo. Alright. Oh, right, and space 3 DA is at the top. I'm just going to kick it. First on space 3, we're not going for. We'll consider that space 3 collisions inevitably entering the offense. They don't solve for the impact. Soft power can't solve because Russia is completely independent of its relations with the United States. And on the ozone DA, they say no link that SPS requires a one-time launch. Big Center Globus A card that says the plan. SPS require a minimum of 100,000 launches to meet current energy demand and 1 million launches to provide for future rates. And status quo levels of rocket launches won't threaten the ozone, but increased SPS would change this. Ross 9 at current launch rates, ozone depletion from rocket exhaust is significant compared to other sources of ozone. If launch rates and ozone depletion from other sources remain at current levels, the system will not change. Hence, space market forces associated with significant regression in launch costs will be necessary to consider that environment as consequence of large rockets launch. Often, rocket combustion products are the only human resource of ozone-destroying compounds injected directly in the middle and upper stratosphere. The stratosphere is relatively isolated from the troposphere, so that emissions from individual launches are accumulated in the stratosphere. And our Ross card is incredible because it talks about how scientifically the combustion of rocket fuels done by the plan links to the DA preferred over their NASA 8 card, because it actually talks about the facts behind depletion of the ozone layer. And this also answers the argument that shuttles won't trigger the impact. They say that SPSP won't affect the ozone layer, but will consider that few rockets won't cause detrimental harm to the ozone. But they again consider Globus 8 evidence the plan necessitates 100,000 rockets launch SPSP to fully solve. This completely destroys the ozone layer, and SPSP causes ozone depletion. Journal of Space Law 88. If launch activities increase greatly, for instance, solar power satellite systems consisting of tens of satellites are developed, they will pollute the air and water around the launching site in a short period of time. The chemical release from space carbon encompasses nitrogen oxide, carbon dioxide, chlorine, and hydrogen chloride. The latter two have a depleting effect on the ozone layer. And again, prefer our evidence because it's purely specific to SPSP, and even small amounts of chemicals produce huge changes in the ozone layer. Tooby, Heinemann, and Ross 09. Stratospheric ozone layers are controlled by driven only traces of particles. And they said the S solves the impact because it ends fossil fuels, but ground-based emissions are a lesser threat to ozone than rocket launches. Faust 9. Launch vehicles release combustion byproducts that can affect the ozone layer. And prefer evidence over their NSS evidence. We take into account that the plan solves all fossil fuel emissions. The argument is that even without carbon emissions the plant solves, the ozone layer will still be destroyed because of the incredibly large amounts of launches the plant enacts. And they say we've already reached the tipping point of extent. Faust evidence is that the ozone layer is recovering, and the ozone hole is recovering, decreasing CFC's wind patterns designs daily 06, while the ozone hole over Antarctica continues to open wide. The ozone layer around the rest of the planet seems to be on the mend for the last 9 years. Worldwide ozone has remained roughly constant, holding the decline. Whatever the explanation, the trend continues. The global ozone layer should be restored to 1980, sometimes between 2030 and 2070. Even by then, even the Antarctic ozone hole might close. And the ozone layer is recovering from abuse. Climate and Pollution Agency 10 and the projecting emissions of ozone depleting substances have disturbed balance of stratosphere. The recent global ozone data indicated there may be signs of ozone recovery from the mid-1990s in most of the world. And the dissat outweighs. The ozone layer is what shields us from harmful ultraviolet radiation. The ultraviolet radiation causes skin cancer, cataracts, and it melts our immune systems, all of which are extremely deadly. No one can hide, meaning that all life on Earth will be killed, and with no chance for re-evolution, meaning we outweigh on scope and magnitude. And you can cross-apply our uniqueness evidence as the ozone layer is on the brink now, meaning that once the planet happens, we will all be killed by the sun's ultraviolet radiation immediately, meaning we have an extremely fast time frame, and it's scientifically proven means it's bound to happen. You can observe severely injured victims who only suffer seconds of UV radiation, and there's no point in solving for warming if you can't solve for the ozone layer. Even if you solve warming, the destruction of the ozone layer causes the sun's harmful and hot rays to reach Earth. Therefore, you vote negative because solving for the ozone layer is a prerequisite to solving global warming. And they make an argument that SPSP will only affect a tiny part of the ozone layer that won't trigger impacts, but they are scientifically incorrect. The standard Ross 9 card that says the combustion of rocket fuels creates harmful substances that spread around the atmosphere, meaning to damage the entire ozone layer, causing our impacts described by our Greenpeace 95 card. And onto condo. Counterinterpretation, the negative gets one conditional advocacy, and debate is a quest for the best policy option. The CP isn't and it should be allowed to be kicked at any time within the situation when you're searching for the best policy option. And conditionality is real world. In real life, if we have an idea and then decide we don't like it, we forget about it. It's real world to punt on something if it turns out to be bad. The status quo should always be an option for a rational policymaker, and it's key to education. We need to learn about multiple policies. Conditionality is key to explore more ways of policy making. And perms check abuse. We are not running two conflicting conditional counterplans that we can kick out of there. Our conditional counterplan does not justify double turns or double binds. There's no in-round abuse, as the affirmative can defend the perm and the plan can defend the status quo. And all arguments are conditional counterplans are opportunity cost distance, and competitions are a link. If there's no competition, it goes away like any other argument.